Welcome to the Machakos Village Development Simulation Game. In a few moments, we're going to be taking you on a safari to Machakos in the nation of Kenya. But first, I want to give you a little background on the simulation itself. The Machakos Village Development Simulation Game transports participants to the 5 villages of the Machakos district in the African nation of Kenya to experience firsthand what it's like to be part of a self-help economic and social development project. The foundation of the Machakos simulation is a case study of the Machakos Human Development Projects coordinated by the Institute of Cultural Affairs in the Machakos district during the early 1980s. The simulation is, therefore, based on real people, real villages, and the plans these people made for their own economic and social development in their villages. The simulation is based on the understanding that real change can only come about if people create it with their own minds, hearts, and actions. Machakos is for anyone from age 12 to 99. It's of particular interest to teacher educators, students and teachers of secondary and university social science courses, trainers of staff and volunteers for international development organizations and religious institutions, and corporate executives involved in the international sector, as well as citizens concerned with becoming globally literate in today's multicultural society. The simulation is played by teams of 5 or 6 participants, and a Machakos event can be run for a group of 6 or a group of 60. The only constraint is the number of game sets you have on hand. The Machakos game can be used to broaden global perspective as an experiential training exercise prior to community development field experience, or as a team building tool for organizational development. The purpose of this training tape is to give you an overview of the game, its flow, its style. And from it, I hope you will become acquainted with how to be a game guide. The tape is intended to be used as a facilitator preparation tool in conjunction with the Machakos facilitation script. It is not intended to be a replacement for the script or to be used in an event itself. I recommend that you watch the entire tape to get the feel for the flow and style of the Machakos event, and then go back and read the script through with an eye to what it would be like to facilitate this event. Then go back again and watch the tape to reinforce points made both in the script and in the tape regarding facilitation. The setting for a Machakos event is extremely important. The space should ideally be a self-contained room with enough space for each team to have its own table and not be disturbed by another team working at its own pace. There should be one table for each team, large enough to contain the game materials, but yet small enough to enable the team members to communicate quietly without disturbing other teams. This is how a room should be set up for one team event before the participants arrive. As I said, there should be one table for each team, and the visuals should be up on the wall. You will have to decide every time you do an event where the projector will be positioned and where the screen will be positioned. Considerations here are that you want to have it positioned such that no one has to crane around or move their chairs excessively in order to be able to view the slides. Now for placement of the visuals. The visuals should be put up in the front of the room so that everyone can see them easily in roughly the logical order in which they will be used. The first thing you put up is the map. The first actual visual to be used in the game is the Machakos game phases visual. The second visual to be used is the chip's color code chart. You need to leave space to the right of the chip's color code chart for the corresponding definitions of each of the terms on the chart. These will go up later during the gameplay itself. The next visual to go up is the round cycle. The next visual is the steps to project completion. The final visual to go up before the gameplay starts is the Calculating Workday Completion Requirements chart. The remaining visuals on the table go up during gameplay. The Kiswahili lesson, the white chart, needs to be close at hand during phase 1. The definitions mounted on colored strips of paper, which correspond to the chip's color code chart, need only be on hand when phase 2 begins. The next setup task is to open up the game set itself. First, untie the bow, release it from the flap, then unloop the 2 cords at either end from around the buttons. Then open up the game board itself. Slide the map together. And then pull out the purple attachment. This is how the game will be when placed on the game table later on in gameplay. This board is not used until phase 2, and so what we do at this point is simply to place the materials on the game board. The medallions, the cups, the basket, the envelope of markers and flags, and the bag of chips, the city event card pack, and the village event card pack. And then pick up the game board and place it in a safe place away from the table. For purposes of ambience, it's helpful to use an African cloth, such as this conga, to put on each table. When participants come in, it's impressive to see the splash of color. For purposes of this video, we elected not to use the African cloth, but rather to have a black table to show up the game materials better. Another important piece of equipment is the materials table, which the game guide uses to store the materials in the order in which they will be used. I'm now placing all the materials that we will need for phase 1 in the first column here, and placing them so that they can be easily picked up in the order they are needed. First the gear card, then the Kamweleni village data card, and then last the pack of villager biography cards. In phase 2, we will be needing the water tank completion project cards. And we will also be needing the Machakos resources and clout card. In phase 3, we will be needing the village data cards, the remaining village data cards, and the remaining project cards. Also, there is a surprise card that will be needed in phase 3. And now, as a final touch for the ambience, turn on some African music just before the participants arrive. Now let's see how it all works. Hi, thanks for coming. Just come on around here and take a seat. Hi. It's fine.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, go ahead. Just sit any place here. I want to welcome all of you who volunteered to spend a year of your lives living and working in the villages of the Machakos district in Kenya. We're going to be linking up with a development process that's been going on for 2 years now in the village of Kamwaleni. The villagers 2 years ago decided their priorities, and they made a plan for what they'd like to have their village be like, and they've been working on this. And now you're going to join them and assist them in their project. Now you're embarking on an experience which is a game, but it's not a game, because it's a simulation of the way life is in the villages and in a human development project in Kenya. Now, here we are. This experience has 4 parts. The first is Welcome to Rural Kenya. The second is Training and Project Completion. The third is venturing beyond that first village of Kamwaleni to some other villages. And then the fourth is when it's almost time to go home and reflecting back on your experience, seeing what it was like for you. I want to call your attention to the map of Africa over here. Africa is a huge continent. And here's Kenya, this country that's colored in rose here. Kenya is about the size of Texas, so it's not really as small as it looks here, because Africa is so big. The Machakos district, where you're going to be working, is southeast of Nairobi, and Nairobi, of course, is the capital city. Now, since you're going to be working together, take a few moments to introduce yourselves. Just say your name and one quick word about why you decided to go to Kenya.
My name is Annie Yim, and I'm going to Kenya so that I can learn new experiences and learn about the culture of the people.
Well, my name is Monica Harris, and I'd like to go to Kenya because I've always been interested in African culture, so, yeah.
My name's David Brown, and I'd like to go to Kenya because, well, I think it sounds like a whole bunch of fun, and I want to help some underprivileged people get a new way of life.
Well, my name's Gretchen Wagner, and I want to go to Kenya to meet new people and have a lot of fun doing it, and I'm glad I'm here to meet you all.
My name's Armando Orduña, and I'm planning to major in Third World Cultural Studies. And also, well, my mother was in the Peace Corps, so I'm sort of following her footsteps by traveling the world and lending a helping hand.
All right.
Great. Well, I'm Susan Wegner, and I'm going to be your guide to Kenya. I want to hand out a gear card and just look at the things that are on this list. Hopefully you've already packed these things in your backpack and you're ready to go, but if you haven't got everything, then we'll stop in a market in Nairobi and you can pick up what's missing. But as you look at this list, what surprises you?
A warm jacket,
Yeah, a warm jacket. Why are you surprised?
because I thought the climate was hot.
Well, it does get hot, but the elevation is high enough that it does get cool also.
Out of curiosity, why paperback books and not hardback books?
Well, they're heavier to carry around for one thing, and they're cheaper.
How about 4 changes of clothes for the year?
4 changes of clothes? Well, you'll be carrying around a lot of what you have. You won't want to leave it behind when you go out to other villages. And also, most people don't have more than 4 changes of clothes, at least in the villages. Any other questions?
Pills.
Malaria pills. Right. Hopefully you've started taking your malaria pills,
Oh, yeah, of course.
because they take
Yeah.
some time to take effect, and they will not eliminate the possibility of your getting malaria, but they will diminish that possibility. Okay. Well, if those are all the questions, then let's get ready to go to the airport. All right, what I'd like you to do is sit back, relax, close your eyes, and just go inside yourselves and inside your imaginations. Take a deep breath in and out, and view the scenes as we move along. Let your mind's eye work. You are arriving at the International Airport Terminal and are checking in at the check-in counter. You make your way through security. As you arrive at the gate, your flight is called and you board the plane. You find your seat. Soon, the plane pulls away from the gate and begins taxiing to the end of the runway. You hear the engines roar, and you settle back in your seat and relax. After many hours, you awake to find dawn approaching. As you look out the window, you see the empty Sahara Desert below. Before long, sparse clumps of trees begin to appear. Soon, you feel the plane begin its slow descent into Nairobi International Airport. The landing is smooth, and the plane comes to a halt in front of a very modern airport terminal. You leave the plane and walk toward the terminal. And now, when you're ready, open your eyes as you take a last look at the plane on the airfield. Turn off the lights, please. It's 7 a.m. as you leave the Nairobi Airport Terminal and move out into bright sunshine. You load into the project truck and drive up Mombasa Highway toward the city. In the city, you change your money and take a spin past the tourist hotels and the famous Kenyatta Plaza. Toward the fringe of the city, you get a glimpse of the living conditions of people who have moved from their villages to the city in search of jobs. You pull up at the Kawangware market and check your gear list to see what missing items you may need to pick up. It's been a long and eventful day, and you're grateful for dinner and a long night of sleep. All right, morning comes early. You've just awakened from your first full night of sleep in 3 nights and feel rested and ready for a new day in Kenya. So why don't you stand up and just stretch? Okay. Have a seat. Okay, well, we've had breakfast, ugali, which is kind of like grits, and some tea with milk and sugar. And now we're gathering in the training center, ready for your first really full day in the village. And as you gather, I want to give you the Kamwaleni data card and ask Monica to read the part that's on the left-hand side. Just give some information about Kamwaleni.
Okay. A dirt road cuts through the village with many switchbacks on a steep terrain near the river. There is a cluster of buildings at the center of the village along the dirt road. This includes 2 shops, the community center, the primary school, and the village development training center. Everyone farms. 25% of the families supplement their farm income by the men working in Machakos or Nairobi. The major crops include beans and pigeon peas. The population density, there are 70 farms, 595 people, and 8 to 9 people per family.
Okay, well, what information do you remember from that?
8 to 9 people per family.
Yeah, that's big.
It's a lot.
And pigeon peas. What are pigeon peas?
Pigeon peas are, well, it's a dried legume. It's kind of like black-eyed peas. Now, you mentioned 8 to 9 people per family as being large. That's, of course, compared to your families back home.
Yeah.
Yes.
But this is a rural community, remember, and rural families tend to be larger.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other information you recall from that?
The river. It's a river running right outside of town.
All right.
And
Good.
also that they do have some centers, like they have a community center and some things that form a community kind of that.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
Oh, and most of the men are working off in cities.
That's right. So as you
Yeah.
go around the village, you will probably meet more women than men, and the men you meet might be more predominantly elderly men. Okay, great. Now, the main task today is to go out and meet some villagers. And the purpose of this activity is to begin learning what it's like to live here and what the culture is like. Now, the villagers are also curious about you, and so they're going to want to find out about you. Now, to accomplish these visits, you're going to step outside your role as a volunteer from overseas and step into the role for a few moments of being a villager. So what I'd like you to do is take a card, just take the top one. If you're a guy and you get a woman's card, that's just fine. And vice versa. Can be more interesting that way. All right. Spend a few moments looking at your card, reading through it, imagining what it will be like to be this person. All right, now in a moment you as a team will be going on a walk through Kamaleni. And as you set off down the village path, you're going to meet villagers one by one. So there will only be one person being a villager at the same time. So when Monica is being the first villager, the rest of you will be yourselves from your home country, okay? Armando, you will be the first village volunteer to kick off a conversation with this first villager. And then when it's time for this to change villagers, I will indicate it's time to move on and meet another villager, and then Annie will become her villager, and Gretchen will be the one to kick off a conversation with Annie's villager. Now, once the conversation is started, it's a free-for-all. You can all participate, but this is just a way to get things started. Now, the point of doing this is to find out what it's like, what these villagers are like. So what might be some things you'd like to find out about the villagers?
Well, what they do in their community, you know, what their job is.
Okay.
Family, children.
Okay.
Any concerns they might have
Okay.
of the village's future.
Great.
What they want to do with their own life in the future, how they want to progress, if they want to get out of the village or stay and become a part of the community.
What their plan is, what their plan of action for good.
Okay, you guys are just right ready to go. Now, what do you think the villagers are going to want to know about you?
What American cities are like.
Okay.
Where we come from, why we're there, probably.
Okay.
You know, what our motives are.
Very natural questions for a villager to have, of a foreigner in their village. All right. Now, if someone asks you a question for which there is no data, when you're being the villager, if they ask you a question for which there is no data on your card, what do you think you do?
Make it up.
Make it up, yeah.
Yes, you make it up to the best, make an educated guess. Stay in character. You are this villager, all right? Okay, you are also the expert on how to say the name of your villager. So say it with confidence when you do.
Okay.
All right? Now, those of you who have traveled in other countries before may know that it always wins points with people to try and use their local language. And so I want to teach you a little Kiswahili, which is the national language of Kenya. To do that, I need a prop. All right. The way you say hello in Kiswahili is you say jambo, and you shake hands. So try that.
Jumbo.
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 Okay. The response to jambo is jambo sana. It's like saying jambo back to you, hello back to you. So try that sequence.
Jumbo sana.
Jumbo.
Jumbo.
Jumbo sana.
Yeah, right. Very good. Now, if you're meeting a woman, you say jambo mama.
Jumbo mama.
Jumbo.
Jumbo sana.
Jumbo sana.
Jumbo
Jumbo sana.
sana.
All right. And if you're meeting a man, you say jambo mzee.
Jumbo mzee.
Jumbo sana.
All right. Very good. Now, the goodbyes are kwaheri.
Kwaheri.
Good rolled R there. And then the response is kwaheri sana.
Kwaheri sana.
All right. Try that with each other.
Kwaheri.
Kwaheri sana.
Kwaheri
All
sana.
right. Sana. Good. Well, you're all set now. Are there any questions? All right. Well, take off and have a great day in the village.
Jumbo mama.
Jumbo sana.
Hi, my name is Armando.
My
Yours?
name is Mumo.
Oh,
Hi,
nice to
Mumo.
meet you.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How old is your son that's with you?
He's 18 months.
18 months old. Really?
Little one.
Is he your only child?
No, I have 4 children, 3 daughters and my 1 son.
What does your husband do for a living?
Well, actually, he lives in Machakos with his second wife.
Second wife.
Yeah.
Are you his first?
Yeah, I'm his first wife, and he has another wife in Machakos. And he visits us about 3 times a year. He sends us money.
Well, how does that make you feel? Only 3 times a year?
Well, I mean, I just deal with it. I'm lucky enough to have a patch of land that's my own, that I farm, and his mother, my mother-in-law, stays with me. She helps me take care of the children, and
Well, that's good.
So, what kind of education? I mean, are you school educated or family educated?
no, it's just, I haven't received any formal education in school. It's basically you live and learn.
Yeah. Well, what do you do? Do you do anything for a living? Do you farm or whatever?
Yeah, I farm things on my land, my patch of land. It's called a shamba. Okay? I grow things on my land. I fetch water. I've thought about selling baskets called kinodos, but I haven't done it yet, so.
What would you like, what do you expect from us as the volunteers to help with the village?
Well, I don't have too many expectations. I'd like you to tell me what you plan on doing.
Well, first we need to see if there are any problems or any concerns that you would have, and then we can help you in that way.
You're the one who's going to be telling us what we can help you with.
We're working for you.
Oh, well, one problem we have is just water. I have to travel 2 kilometers a day just to get water.
Oh, wow.
Well, then it seems like the first problem is irrigation.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Very observant.
As interesting as this woman is, it's time to move on and meet another villager. So say goodbye and move on.
Kwaheri.
Kwaheri sana.
Jumbo mama.
Jambo sana.
My name is Gretchen. What's your name?
My name is Wumbua.
In the guided conversation that follows, there's a very particular method that is used. The sequence of questions in this guided conversation is carefully chosen. And questions are categorized into 4 different types: the objective, reflective, interpretive, and the decisional. The intent of this conversation is to enable the group to process the experience that they've just had and to discover deeper meanings than they had perhaps already acknowledged in themselves. The objective questions draw out the facts about the experience or the event. They're fairly easy to answer. The reflective questions get at how the group feels or how individuals feel, emotions that may have come up during the experience, thought associations that might have come up. The third, interpretive step, enables participants to consider the meaning and value of the event and its significance for the group. The final step, the decisional step, becomes more personal and asks questions like what are you going to decide to do about this situation in the future? The critical point that I want to make is how important it is to ask these questions in this particular sequence, going from objective to reflective to interpretive to decisional questions. Asking a question from the decisional level before asking about the reflective level can kill a conversation and can keep it from going to the same depth that it would have otherwise. As we gather at the training center over dinner, let's reflect on the day that you've had visiting with villagers. Who were some of the people that you met?
I remember meeting an older woman named Mbua. We met a health caretaker named Anna, a younger woman named Mumo, and an older gentleman named Matuso.
Okay, great. And what were some of the feelings that you remember having during the day as you visited with people?
Frustration. A lot of frustration, because not all of the people, just about 2 of the elders didn't really want change. Like Mbua, the older woman, she was very traditional and she didn't necessarily want us to help them start up anything, and that was really frustrating.
Well, that's a natural enough reaction. These people have a lot of pride, and especially in their ways. Sure. All right. Well, what are some of the things that you learned about village life?
Well, one thing I learned is that there's a problem with the water shortage. There's also a great need for health care to fight off epidemics like diarrhea and so forth. And just the people really want changes made. Education is another problem. They wanted to increase education.
Okay, great. What are some of the obstacles that you think you will run into as foreign volunteers in this village?
The older guard is going to resent us being here. They felt that they've existed this long by themselves, that why can't they just continue to exist without us? And there'll be, materials, finding materials and getting people to help, because a lot of the men are in the cities working. And a lot of men who are here, the strong people aren't that many strong people, a lot of elderly people and women who, they are strong, but there are also a lot of people who resent working, trying to help us.
Okay, well remember that you're there helping them, too.
So
they've made this plan and you're there to assist. So there should be some motivation.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, after a full day of going around the village, I imagine you're tired and ready for a good night of sleep.
Yeah.
Okay. We're now entering the second part of your experience in Kenya, training in project completion. Now, this is a part where you're going to be asked to take in a lot of information, to learn a lot of procedures. And it may be a very frustrating time, but actually that's very appropriate, because when you're first in a new country, there are a lot of new things to learn culturally and procedurally, and it's very easy to put your foot in your mouth and make mistakes, and it's a very frustrating time. So if you find yourself being frustrated, that's good, because that's the way you ought to feel at this point. Now, another thing I want to say is that whatever you do, it may look like there are only 5 people sitting around the table planning. Actually, there's a whole host of people that's part of the team. You're going to be working with very competent and experienced Kenyan staff members who come from other villages and other cities in Kenya. And you'll also be working with very competent and experienced villagers who know the scene, who know how to operate, and who have a plan that they are bringing off, and you're simply helping them with that. So if you feel inexperienced and incompetent, that's okay, because the local people are the ones who really know the ropes. All right, now each of you is going to, because there are only 5 flesh and blood bodies sitting around the table playing, you're going to need to do the work inside yourselves of keeping the Kenyan staff people and the villagers' perspective in consideration. So you'll need to be in constant dialogue with, in particular, the villager that you played when you were out visiting villagers, just so remember what their concerns were and what their perspective was, and bring that to your discussion as a team. Now I want to have us look at the game board here. Here's a map of Kenya, and when we landed a few days ago, we landed in Nairobi and traveled out to the Machakos district, which is this little area here in orange. Now coming onto the larger map, this is the city of Machakos, and then we traveled out of the city of Machakos, down this road, past the village of Kalumoni, which you will eventually be working in, past Wamani, another village that you will be working in the future, down to Kamwaleni. And that's where we are right now. This is the village that has been part of this development process for 2 years. Your objective while you're here in Kenya is to work with the villagers in their efforts for their village to become self-sustaining. Now, what do you think that might mean?
Well, I think it probably means that they want to be able to carry out all aspects of their government and take care of their community by themselves without aid from other places.
Okay. What kinds of things might they want to have control over on their own?
Their own water supply, their own food supply, clothing.
Education.
I mean, they just want improved farming conditions, and then once you get the basics down, then they can go on to more important things. Well, more not so necessary things.
Okay, things that aren't necessary for living,
survival.
for survival. Sure.
Also, healthcare, I think, is a big issue.
Okay.
And they need to make connections with people outside the village that might help them with all of these things.
To get resources.
Yeah.
Okay, so things might not actually physically be in the village, but to be self-sufficient, they need to know where to go to get what they need.
Right.
And all the villages need to be learn to cooperate with each other.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure, because some villages may be able to satisfy needs of others.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, those are all really, really fine aspects of self-sufficiency, and we'll be getting more into what we're going to be measuring in terms of self-sufficiency in a few moments. I want to pass out the field manuals, which you'll be using during this training period. This one. Just open those to the first page. You'll notice that there are two kinds of sections. One kind of section gives background, and then if you turn the page to page 3, you will see that there are directions for your team. What I'd like you to do at this time is just individually read through the first 2 pages, and then when you finish that, move on to the page 3 to the team directions and work through those directions, and then we'll get back together again.
Team directions for getting started. Number 1, decide who on your team will play each role and ask each team member to put on the medallion signifying his or her role.
Well, I'd like to be the director.
Okay.
Can I be field staff?
I'll do field staff.
Thank you.
Counting sounds good.
Well, I guess I'm a recorder then.
Okay. Okay, number 2. Find the bag of colored markers and ask each team member to take a marker corresponding to the color of his or her medallion and place it in Kamwali on the game board.
Okay, who's green?
Well, we
Put that
doesn't
in there.
really matter.
And you need 2 more blue and a red.
Well, one more blue and a red. Okay.
Number 3, place 1 purple marker in Kamalini. This marker represents all of the village leaders you met yesterday. It also represents all of the leadership, cooperation, knowledge, and clout possessed by the village at the present time. Purple one.
There we go.
All right.
Number 4, accountant gives each team member a small plastic cup and then empties the bag of chips into the basket. Okay. Colored human capacity chips should be distributed to each team member as follows. Okay, let's see. The director needs 2 reds, 1 blue. 1 green and 1 yellow. Thanks. You're welcome. The recorder needs 2 greens, 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 yellow.
Thank you.
Accountant, you need 2 yellows, 1 red, 1 blue, and 1 green. And the field staff members need 2 blues, 1 red, 1 yellow, and 1 green.
Okay.
So, well then.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, now each of your chips should stay in your cups at all times. You don't spend them like money. They just stay there. They represent who you are. And you notice that you each have a different mix, which represents the fact that you bring different skills and capacities to your team. All right, so you've divided up your roles. You've placed your markers in Kamaleni. The markers will represent where you are on the game board. So if you have to go to Machakos, your marker has to go there. Okay? Now, these chips that you've distributed represent 4 very important human capacities that are the foundation for self-sufficiency. And those are represented here on this chart. Cooperation is the ability to work together. Leadership is the ability to motivate and sustain participation. And you notice leadership is not necessarily someone saying, we're going to go this way, but it's involving the group and keeping that motivation there. Knowledge has to do with social, political, or cultural skills. And you could also add economic skills to that. Now, clout is the ability to use influence to obtain needed resources. What kinds of people have clout back home?
Politicians.
Yeah.
Politicians?
Politicians, yeah.
Heads of companies.
Okay.
Actors, actresses,
Okay.
people in the public eye.
All right. Sure. Well, it's the same way in Kenya. There are people who have clout here, and you have clout too, signified by what?
Yellow.
Yellow. Your yellow chips. Okay. Great. All right. Now, you have these capacities, but the village also has these capacities. Let's take a look at the green Kamaleni card. All right. Down there at the bottom of the card, there's a little chart. Maybe you should hold that so everybody can see it. All right. Great. You notice that Kamaleni now has 6 cooperation units. It needs 9 in order to be considered self-sufficient in cooperation. So how much needs to be gained?
3.
Hey, your mathematics are wonderful. All right. Leadership, Kamaleni now has 7, needs 9 to be self-sufficient, needs 2 more. And knowledge, they now have 8, they need 9, gain 1. And clout, Kamaleni now has 2 clout and needs 3 to be self-sufficient. Okay, so they need to gain 1. All right. Now, wherever this purple marker is, those qualities that Kamaleni has are represented. Okay? So wherever this purple marker goes at this point, how much clout does it carry?
2.
Right. And likewise with the other capacities. Now, as the village gains and has new life experiences, it will gain in leadership, cooperation, knowledge, and clout. And move towards self-sufficiency. These are self-sufficient. This is a self-sufficiency flag. When Kamaleni has reached self-sufficiency in not just one, but in all of these qualities, then it gets a self-sufficiency flag. And we'll talk more later about what that will mean. Each week that your team is living in the Machakos district, you will be participating in a round cycle. It's a process that you will be going through consisting of 5 steps. The first step is to decide your goals for the week. The second step is to build a strategy to meet those goals. The third step is to move your markers to the task locations that are dictated by your strategy. The fourth step is that each player takes a turn at the spinner. And the fifth step is to sit back and assess the results of this particular round or week of work. Now, I mentioned a spinner. I want to say a word about that. The spinner represents the unpredictable nature of life. I don't know about your life, but in my life, when I make plans, the plans don't always work out exactly the way I planned them. All right. There are three possibilities. One is to spin Harambe or victory, the green part. A person spinning Harambe or victory has been successful for that week. For some unexplainable reason, things just worked out right, according to the plan. Kuto Kufa Hulu means not successful in Kiswahili, or zilch in English. If you spin a red, then that means that for some unexplainable reason, you were not successful. Your plans didn't work out. And whatever you personally were assigned to do for that week, you didn't do. You can have some fun figuring out why, or what was the reason. The third possibility is mshangao, which means surprise. That's the yellow. If you spin a yellow field, then if you happen to be working, let's say, Monica, as the director in the city of Machakos, you would take a city event card and read it off. Just read it off for us to get a sample of how they're set up.
Event. You are lost in Machakos. The owner of the Masai timber takes you where you want to go. This is the start of a promising friendship. You are successful this term.
Okay, so you can see that an event card tells you something that's happened to you. It tells the impact of whatever that thing is, but it also tells you the result of your spin, whether you're successful or not successful. All right? Now, when you are successful with your spin, leave your marker sitting straight up. When you are unsuccessful, lay it down. Just make it fall down as a visual reminder. Okay. Now, and I also want to say that if you, of course, are in the village and you spin this yellow, then you would take a village event card. They're set up the same way. Different kinds of events happen to you in the village than in the city, which is as it should be. All right. Now, this intensive human development project began in Kamwaleni 2 years ago. 2 years ago, the villagers had a week-long meeting. People came from government agencies in Machakos to attend this meeting. People came from Nairobi. There were even international volunteers like yourselves who came to represent their expertise in various disciplines. There were farmers, doctors, teachers, architects, small industry people, just to provide a little extra, some more ideas for what might happen. At this meeting, the villagers had an opportunity to sit down and seriously talk together about what they would like to see happen in their village and to build a consensus about this. Once they had a vision for what their village could be, then the next step was to look at what the obstacles were to bringing off that vision. Why hadn't it happened already if people were agreed that their village needed to have certain things and going on in it? The third step was to design some projects to deal with these obstacles. And so they came up with all kinds of creative ideas, and they've already begun in the past 2 years to move on them. When you had your tour of the village a couple of days ago, what were some of the things that you saw going on?
I saw a poultry farm that helped the people have eggs and things so that the kids' hair wouldn't come out orange.
Okay.
That was interesting.
Right.
I also saw some of the elementary education that was going on in the preschool through grammar school, I guess you would call it. That was pretty interesting.
Okay. Great. Yeah, there were lots of other things going on as well. There were kitchen gardens that were encouraging people to grow vegetables and so forth. So those were all projects that came out of this meeting that they held two years ago. Now there are more things that have not been completed. And for your benefit as trainees, we've chosen a project that's very important for you to work on along with the villagers, and it's the water tank project. There's one card for each of you for this particular project. In future projects, there will only be one card for the whole team. But because you're learning about the procedures here, we're providing one card for each of you. All right. Now, just one person read off the first part of that project.
Project description. The villagers of Cameloni began construction of a water storage tank a year and a half ago. The work on the tank is stalled. This project is designed to complete the water tank construction with donated materials and a community workday.
Okay, great. Now, so the project was started before, but it stalled. What might have been the reason for it stalling?
They could have had a harvest, and they had to go mend with the fields and the food before they could do the water tank.
Okay.
Insufficient funds, or people who just didn't know how to complete it. The knowledge might not have been so readily available.
Okay.
Well, perhaps there was something with the weather. Maybe they had, rain just day after day.
These are all very possible reasons, and there probably are a million more that we could think of. What's your own life experience with projects that you've started and then for some reason they've stalled?
Well, once you stop working on something, it's pretty hard to get going again, especially after a year and a half. That's a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So you can anticipate it might be hard to get things rolling again. But who dreamed up this project in the first place?
The people.
Okay. So it's not like you're coming in and laying something on them that they didn't already decide. They and you know that water is a big issue. So you can feel comfortable bringing up the possibility of doing the water tank again. All right. Now, completing a project involves 3 steps. Each step is completed when enough team members and village leadership have successfully fulfilled their tasks in the same week or during the same round. These 3 steps are to successfully order the resources and then to wait for delivery of those resources. The second step is to set up the workday. And then the third step is to do the workday. Now, let's go back and look at these in more detail. Where do you think resources might come from? Well, let me ask this first. What resources do you need for the water tank?
Cement, wire mesh,
Boards and nails.
Okay. Where do you think they might come from?
Probably the city of Machakos.
Okay, that would certainly be the closest place to check. All right. And luckily, the team that was here before you did some documentation. They had some long, hard experiences trying to find out who had what in Machakos, and they've recorded it, and it's on this resources and clout card. Now, you'll notice that this card is set up so that the first column shows the agencies that exist in Machakos. Some of these are government agencies, some of them are business houses. The second column tells what's available, which resources are available from those agencies. The third column tells the clout that you need to apply successfully in order to get resources from those agencies. The fourth column deals with delivery time. Once an agency has promised that they will give you the things that you need for a project, they're not generally sitting on the shelf waiting for you. Resources are scarce. They have to be ordered. And so there's delivery time. And the delivery time is listed in this fourth column. And remember that a round is equal to a week in time. So if it says 1 round, you have to wait a week. It says 8 rounds, you're waiting 8 weeks. Okay, the final column deals with the number of rounds that are between uses. For example, if in round 1 you successfully get the cement promised from one of these agencies, then let's say it's from the Ministry of Works. Look down there at the Ministry of Works. How often can you go back?
Only every 16 rounds.
Okay,
Every 16.
so if you get resources promised in round 1, then 16 rounds later, or round 17, you can go back. Okay? All right. So that's how this card is set up. Now, where might you go to request resources for this water tank project?
Mabolo's timber.
Okay.
Yeah.
You
That's good.
can get 15 boards, some nails, and you only need 4 clout.
Okay.
It's 1 round of delivery, and you get 1 of these 30 rounds.
Okay, that is the one place. In fact, I think that's the only place where you can get enough boards.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah,
going to
you
have
have
to
to
go
go
there.
there.
What about the cement? What options do you have there?
Well, there are 3. There's the Ministry of Works, where it would take, you need 4 clout, and it would take 1 round for delivery. There's the District Water Office, and that's 4 clout, and it'll only take 1 round. But if you went to the Ministry of Works, you could go back there in 12 weeks, as opposed to the District Water Officer, where it would take 24. And there's also the District Agricultural Officer, and it would take, need 5 clouds, which is more, and 8 weeks for deliveries.
Okay, so these are all options which you will be able to discuss when your team is building its strategy for this round.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, you will need, for example, if you went to the Ministry of Works for cement, you would need 4 clout, as I recall. So you would need to send people who represent 4 clout. What would be your options?
Send the accountant, because the accountant has automatically has
Okay.
2.
Well, the villager,
The villager has 2 clout.
Okay, so you could send these 2, and that would total 4.
Right.
2 and 2. Okay, great. All right, that's one option. Of course, you could send different mixes of people. All right, you're all still in Kamalani, so I will leave you there. All right. Now, how much clout do you think needs? You're going to have to go to 2 agencies here. How much clout do you think you're going to have to take to go to both Mbolo's Timber and, let's say, the Ministry of Works?
4. They
4
each
for-
cost 4.
Okay, so what would you say? So 8.
8.
Okay, that would be a normal way of thinking about this. And in actual fact, if you were doing this work, you would probably have to go apply your clout in one place and then go take some different clout and apply it in the other place to be successful in both places. We're going to adopt a convention, a procedure that will help us to speed things up a little bit for the sake of the simulation. When a project requires that you go to 2 agencies for one project, what you have to do is look and see which one of the 2 requires more clout. For example, if one required 5 clout, let's say the cement required 5 clout and the boards required 4, you would only have to take the amount for the most expensive resource, in other words, 5. If you were successful at applying 5 clout to get that cement, then you need do no further work to get the boards. It's a 2-for-1 kind of a proposition, okay? You just automatically get the other ones. All right. Now, we've already mentioned that the available sources of clout are the team chips
And the villager.
and the villager. Okay. So you will have to decide again who is going to be going. All right. So we've just talked in detail about step 1A. Resource delivery. You simply have to wait for the time to pass. Your team does not need to have any success at the spinner. You just have to wait for that week to pass, and the resources will arrive. Now let's move on to step 2, set up the workday. What do you think might be involved in setting up a workday to do a water tank?
Getting people together, telling them about it.
Okay.
Yes, and after you've got your resources, that's good. And then you have to organize, set up a time, you know, what you're going to work on.
Okay.
jobs.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Who are going to be some key players here? Who needs to be involved in the decision making?
The villagers.
Okay. Exactly. So it'd be a good idea to get together with the village leadership. What kinds of logistics are going to have to be taken care of? This is going to be an all-day workday.
Time, heat,
Yeah.
food, water.
Okay.
What jobs each person's going to do.
All right. Right. So there are going to have to be a lot of women carrying water, both for cement and drinking, this kind of thing. All right. By comparison, our procedure here is going to be quite simple. To set up a workday, you have to leave a minimum of 1 team member in the village. Okay? If that person is successful when it comes around to the spinner, then the workday is set up. If they're not successful, of course, it's not set up. Now, say you leave 2 people to work on the workday. If one fails, but one succeeds, is the workday set up?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay. So that's how the workday gets set up. You can work on both getting resources and setting up the workday at the same time by dividing your forces. All right? Now, the third step, doing the workday, we'll deal with in more detail when you're closer to being ready to do it.
Okay.
All right? So now what I'd like you to do is look at the team directions for the first round cycle and work through those. The director is responsible for seeing that the team works through these steps of the round cycle, and so you will be guiding this process. All right? And remember that a leader motivates and sustains participation.
Okay.
All right? So, have a great team meeting, and we'll look forward to seeing what you've accomplished by the end of your first week of work.
Okay.
One of the director's responsibility as the guide for the round cycle is to fill out the round results record. What the director does is to put down each team member's name in this column on the left, and then to record the results of each team member's spin, a plus for a successful spin and a minus for an unsuccessful one. A second operation that must be done with this chart is, when the round is finished, to circle the number for the round, and in this way keep track of which rounds have been completed.
Team directions for the first round cycle. Number 1, hold a team meeting to plan your team's first week of project work. The team meeting covers the first 2 steps of the round cycle: decide goals and build strategy. Okay. Assume your team's goal is to get the resources promised and to set up the workday. Okay. So now we have to decide where we're going to get our resources.
Well, we already figured that out before when we were looking at it.
Yeah, and I think it was Mabolo's timber for the boards and nails.
And Ministry of Works.
Ministry of Works. Okay, so now we've decided what our resources are.
Who are we
And
going
we
to
need
send?
4 clout.
We need 4 cloud. Okay, well the first thing we need to do is decide our goal. I think our goal is to complete the building of the water tank
yes.
in Kamalani. Okay.
But
That's the goal. That's the overall goal.
isn't a smaller goal to set up a workday and get the materials?
Yes.
Very good point, David.
Thank you.
Okay. We've taken the first step in building our strategy, which is to decide where to get the resources.
Uh-huh.
Now, the next thing we need to do is decide who's going to go to Machakos and be our clout.
Annie, definitely.
Yeah,
Clouds.
because she's got 2 clouds.
And
The
Villager.
Villager's a good idea.
I think we should send somebody for safety, though, just to make sure.
Yeah, in
Right.
case someone's not
Okay.
successful.
you can send send one of the
We
field
might as
staff.
well send 2 people.
2?
Okay, 2 members of the field staff. We
Okay.
agreed?
Okay.
Yes.
Go to it.
David
Okay.
and I. David and I.
Okay.
Now,
No, okay.
okay, number 2. Proceed with the round cycle steps 3, 4, and 5. The recorder must fill in the project tracking chart as each step to the project completion is successfully accomplished. Okay, so we did number 3, move our task markers. Okay.
So wait, our agencies are, I have to write that down, Mabola's Timber and
Yes.
Ministry of Works.
Yes.
Okay. You can go ahead.
Okay. Step number 4 is each player spins. Okay. Would you like to be the first?
While we're doing this round and trying to get our resources approved, we can also be setting up the workday at the same time.
Very
You and me
good.
can be doing that.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so Annie, would you like to be the first to spin?
Sure.
Oh,
take the
surprise.
All right.
And you're in the city.
So
So
I
good,
take
you
the
take
city
city.
card. Event. You've become very familiar with the sights and sounds from Machakos. Impact. You ask yourself, who else but Africa can teach rhymes to a world that has died from machines and cannons? Result, you are successful this turn.
Very good.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay,
us, right?
Yes,
So that means we do get our resources then because the
villager
villager
is
is
always
always
successful.
successful. So there we go.
Okay.
So, but we still have to keep on
Wait,
going.
one round.
Yeah.
Your turn
Okay, now I'll spend.
for the work day.
Whoa. Okay, well, I get a surprise.
Nice.
Okay.
She gets a village surprise.
Yeah, thank you. Event. You and a few interested women organize learning games for preschool children. Impact. Villagers gain knowledge about the growth and development of preschool children and are more convinced about the importance of preschool education. Result. Add 1 knowledge chip to the village.
All right.
Yeah. You are successful this turn.
Yay.
Right.
So that means we have our workday set up. So
Yes.
now we're just going to finish it to complete our week.
Right.
Surprise!
Surprise!
I'm in the city. Okay. Event. Mabolo's Timber offers a 50% discount on materials for the village. Impact. Other businesses become aware the work the village is doing. Result. Add 1 clout chip to the village with which you are working. You are successful this turn.
Yeah.
We've reached our clout limit too, so we have 2 of the 4 done.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here I go.
There you go.
Oh.
You're
Always
cursed.
happens.
You're cursed.
Okay, my
She
turn.
gets a negative.
Turn your microphone.
Ooh,
Surprise.
Thank you.
You go down, Gretchen.
Oh, down with Gretchen.
Event. District Poultry Officer gives 500 chicks to the village poultry project.
All right.
Impact. Other district officers hear of it and visit the village. Result. Add 1 clout chip to the village with which you are working. You're successful in this turn.
Yay!
We're over our clout limit now.
It's good.
Okay, put Gretchen back in Camelot.
Thank you.
And I'll put everyone else back in Machakos.
Well, don't we come home now that we've completed our trip?
Well, we have to first assess our results. Okay, our work day. Oh,
Well, this is part of the assessing the results. I have to write down on my sheet when we were approved, and we were approved during round 1.
yes.
So I'll write that down.
Okay, and we've gotten our work day set up because I was successful. We got our resources, so I guess everyone can go back to
Let's
Camelot.
go home.
Yay! We're okay. Now, since we've completed 1 round, which was the needed delivery time, we can go ahead and start our work day.
Well, we have to wait around
We have
for
to
the
wait
deliveries.
for the delivery.
For 1
On
round.
1 week. So we just spin around just to.
Okay.
Together,
Pass
Get it
it.
together, okay.
Okay, so
Annie's-
1
Annie's-
just for the fun of it. Go, Annie.
Oh!
Zilch.
Count.
Yes, surprise! Okay.
City, a village surprise card.
Okay.
Once the workday has been set up and the resources that were promised have been delivered, the team can attempt to do the workday and thus complete the project. Now, your blue project card tells the human capacities of leadership, cooperation, and knowledge that are needed to be present and functioning well on this day in order for the workday to be completed. And this particular chart is set up to illustrate how this works for the tank project. On your blue project card, you'll notice that it says you need 6 cooperation to be successfully applied in order for the project to be completed, the workday to be completed. Kamalani has how much at this time?
6.
6. Okay, so really the team doesn't need to supply any cooperation, though I'm sure you'll be in there working with the rest of them. Of course. All right, leadership. The project card says that 12 leadership units are needed. How much does the village have at this time?
7.
7. Okay, right. And so the team will need to supply 5.
We can do that.
Yes.
Okay. Now, knowledge. If Kamalani, what the project requires is 10 leadership or 10 knowledge units, and if nothing had been gained by the village up to this point in knowledge, it would have 8. In actual fact, your village has gained how much?
1.
1 knowledge. So the number that's relevant for you here is 9. All right. So if you hadn't gained that knowledge, 2 units would have to be supplied by the team. But since the 1 knowledge chip has been gained by the village, your team only needs to supply 1. All right? So basically what you do, since you have nothing else to do, you have no other projects to do, you may as well all just stay in the village as your strategy, and all work on doing the workday,
Okay.
as we practiced in the previous rounds. So if you're successful, lay your markers down. If you're not, leave them standing when you spin the spinner, and then assess at the end of the round. Now, of course, the recorder will be keeping up with recording the steps that are completed, and the director will be continuing to keep records on the spins and the rounds completed.
Do we need to show our markers to say we have enough requirements? Or?
Well, you can. Sure, you can at the end when you get to the assessment, but you pretty much know.
What you want.
Okay.
We'll trust that you're saying the right number of chips in your cup.
Okay.
All right.
Oh.
Okay, do the workday.
Harambe!
Okay.
Positive.
All right, I get a surprise. Okay. Event. You've contracted malaria.
Minus.
Impact. You never fully recover. Result. You lose one cooperation chip, and you are not successful this turn.
Annie.
Knock her
Go,
down.
David. All right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, keep our fingers crossed here. I got a zilch last time. Yeah!
Harambe. Harambe.
Okay, so let's assess this round. What happened?
Well, everyone was successful except
Except
for
for
Annie.
Annie.
But she was just one person that wasn't successful, so the
Do
rest of us
you have
were.
enough?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely have
Yes.
enough.
You sure?
We have surplus.
Let's count. How many leadership?
2,
Okay. How many?
1,
How many?
1.
3, watch, it's 4, 5.
5. Okay,
Five.
so you had what it took for
See?
leadership, and then of course within that there is the correct amount of knowledge. Good. All right. So you've accomplished building the water tank. Look at the bottom of your blue card. What results happened?
2 cooperation chips.
To the village.
All right. So add 2 cooperation chips to the village,
And do we
and
meet a
now we're
quota?
going to have a celebration.
Oh.
Celebration.
Yeah. What do you think would be part of a celebration in a
Dancing.
Kenyan village? All right.
Singing.
All right.
Food.
Food, right? All of that. Okay, well, for sure we're going to sing. All right? So why don't you stand up and pass out the song sheets. We're going to sing a song that's at the bottom. It's called Harambe. It's a song that's known all over Kenya. It means pull together. In other words, pull together for success. Now, I want you to repeat after me first, and then we'll sing the song. All right? Harambe, harambe.
Harambe, harambe.
Tuimbe pamoja.
Tuembe pamoja.
And then you repeat those lines several more times, and then we say, Tujenge surikali.
Tujenge surikali.
Wengi walisima.
Wengi walisima.
Kenya itakuwa.
Kenya itakuwa.
Matata.
Matata.
Watu wote.
Watu wote.
Wasalama.
Wasalama.
Watu wa Kenya.
Watu wa Kenya.
Hatuna ubaguzi.
Hatuna ubaguzi.
Kila rangi.
Kila rangi.
Tunaipenda.
Tunaipenda.
Okay, now if you want to snap your fingers or do a little drumming on the table or dance while you sing this, that's just fine, but you for sure have to sing it. Okay? All right, here we go. Harambe, harambe, tuembe pamoja. Harambe, harambe, tuembe pamoja. Harambe, harambe, tuembe pamoja. Tujenge serikali. Wengi walisema Kenya takuwa matata. Wengi walisema Kenya takuwa matata. Wengi walisema Kenya takuwa matata. Watu wote wasalama. Harambe. Harambe, harambe, tuembe pamoja. Watu wa Kenya, tunawaguzi. Watu wa Kenya, tunawaguzi. Kila rangi tunapenda. Harambe. Harambe, harambe, tuimbe pamoja. Harambe, harambe, tuimbe pamoja. Harambe, harambe, tuimbe pamoja. Tujenge serikali. Right. We're now ready to move on to phase 3, venturing beyond Kamwaleni. Since you're now trained in the methods of project completion, you're ready to begin the pioneering work of moving out and expanding this village development process to more than one village. Let's see what you remember about how the Kamwaleni project began.
Well, it began 2 years ago when Kamwaleni had a meeting to decide their priorities.
All right. Now these other villages in the Maputi sublocation, which is the green area on your map, have not yet decided their priorities. So the first step, of course, is to have a meeting where they can do that. So let's see what this consultation for the whole sublocation might look like. Will you turn off the lights, please? Whoops. All right. Setting up a sublocation consultation means lots of village visits. So let's put on our hiking shoes, grab our gear, and set out. Most people in this region already know about Kamwaleni's stories. So when we arrive, they're curious and interested in talking about how they might participate. The consultation setup meetings include most of the people present in any village on the day we arrive. Attendance and the practical tasks of organizing this multiple village consultation are discussed. People agree to provide housing and food for those who will be attending. During the consultation week, people share their vision for their lives and villages. They face their community's problems, which have brought them deep despair. Long walks to a poor water supply. Hours of waiting at overburdened health clinics. Plenty of maize, but little variety in fruits and vegetables for a nutritionally well-balanced diet. Educated people with no jobs. Then they plan some down-to-earth projects to strengthen positive trends and set new initiatives in motion. Simple water catchment systems. Health caretaker training for village women. Regular marketing of locally made products. Activities for youth. The people get totally involved in this process of serious decision-making about their future. They feel they are owners of the plans they've made and are excited to begin. Now that you have a picture of what this vital part of the human development process is like, the consultation, I'm going to declare that you've all successfully completed the Maputi sublocation consultation.
Yay!
Right. And to symbolize that, I'm going to pass out the remaining village cards for the villages of Ikulu, Wamani, Mwanyani, and Kalumoni. Also at this time, we can move the purple markers that represent the village leadership onto the board. Okay. Now, as a result of this consultation, villagers in all of these villages had an opportunity to observe leadership style and even practice leadership skills themselves. And so each village gained in leadership. Will our accountant please give one leadership chip, a red one, to each village?
Good.
All right.
Now, another result of the consultation was that there were a number of government officials who attended. and they got to know much more about these villages. So what else do you suppose the villages gained in?
Clout.
You got it. All right. Put in a yellow chip for each village. Okay. Now, what were the results? What was the end product of this consultation?
Well,
Decisions on what they want to do with their villages.
yeah.
That's right. And now there's not only one project
Oh, no.
to do,
Oh.
but there are 16 projects. Now you notice they're coming in two colors. The blue cards are for individual villages. And they say, up here in the upper left-hand or right-hand corner as you're looking at it, the name of the village. This is the Market Area Beautification for Kalamoni Village. The yellow projects, for example, there are only two of them, the Village Leadership Institute and the Health Caretakers Training. Those are for the whole sublocation. When they're completed, every village gains. So they're very important. Now, in a few moments, I'm going to give you one of these packets. The only reason for not giving out both of them is that it's very overwhelming to get them all at once. So I will give you this packet, which contains the Village Leadership Institute and at least one project for each of the villages. Your job for the remainder of Phase 3 of Venturing Beyond Kamwaleni is to strategize as a team and keep two objectives in mind. One is you're working with the villagers toward their efforts toward self-sufficiency for each of their villages. Also, a lot of momentum got built up by this consultation. People are expecting great things. You have to keep that momentum going. So keep that in mind with your strategy. You can do as many projects as you want to at once. You can be very creative with your strategy. There's a million different ways to do this. And so it's just up to you from this point. And remember, at any point when you want this second packet, you can just reach for it. Now, when you've finished a project, check with me to see if there is a follow-up, a post-project card for that particular project. Okay? Any questions?
No.
Take off.
Okay.
Phase 4 consists of a guided conversation using the same methods as were used at the end of Phase 1. Before conducting the event, it's a good idea to find out from the sponsor the purposes for having this particular group play the game. Then you can tailor the questions that you ask to suit the purposes. You will find sample questions for several different purposes in your guide script. All right, you've been working for many weeks now in the villages, and it's time to reflect. So let's draw Phase 3 of our work to a close and just sit back and chat for a few minutes. First of all, let's have a report. What was accomplished? And I'd like you to include how many, which projects were completed, how many self-sufficient villages.
Okay. Well, first of all, we were here for about 20 weeks, 20 rounds, and the projects that we accomplished were the road repair, the women's dance group, the agricultural terraces, and the tree planting. And we did complete one yellow card, Village Leadership Institute. So that meant that we were able to get 2 self-sufficient villages, Kamwaleni and Ikulu. So we're pretty proud of ourselves, and so are the villagers too.
Great. Okay. Well, what new skills have you begun to develop as you've worked?
Answer that. Well, aside from the technical things like better farming conditions, housing conditions, I've learned now how to tackle problems, how to think, and not only think about what can I do, but more think in the terms of what can we do.
Okay, great. Super. All right. Now, what are some of the learnings or insights that came to you during this time?
Well, I came here with the attitude of I'm going to help the poor people, when in reality they had what they wanted set up, and I just came to assist and not direct everything. And I learned a lot from them, and it's insight to myself as well as helping people and becoming a part of a group, not overseeing the group.
Aha. Okay. Very important insight. All right. Now, how has your picture of the world changed as a result of living and working in the villages of Machakos?
Well, I now realize the value of resources. For example, when they wanted to renovate and build a water tank or whatever, they had to go to another city for the resources and then wait for them to come, whereas we just run out to the hardware store and get what we need. So that was a big change.
Pretty different context, isn't it? All right. Well, whenever you go through a learning experience, usually new questions come up. What new questions do you have about village and community development?
I'd like to know, how did the Western world take off so fast compared to the villages that we visited and stayed at? How did the other part of the world go so fast, whereas this part of the world just seemed to stay and never really change all that much?
Sounds like you're ready for a research project, huh? Okay, well, we won't go into that right now. That's a big topic, but that's a very important question to have been uncovered. Well, I want to thank you for spending all of this time in the villages of Machakos, and there's a new team on its way here to take your place as you go back and jump on an airplane and go back to tell your friends and families about what it was like here. So thank you very much.
Thank you.